What's that?
I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to begin our Student Senate meeting taking place on Thursday, February 22nd, 2024, with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that Kansas State University, as the first land-grant institution, stands on the ancestral lands of the Kaw people. Our state of Kansas is home to 4 federally recognized Native nations: the Iowa, Kickapoo, Prairie Band Potawatomi, and Sac and Fox. We must remember that the land serving as the foundation for this institution was and still is stolen land acquired by white settlers. We pledge our commitment to creating decolonized spaces at the university while advocating for the support and future success of Indigenous faculty, staff, and students at K-State. With that, Speaker Pro Tem Kappelman will take it away with our first roll call.
Good evening, everyone. Bellamy.
Here.
Biggs.
Here.
Blood. Broughton. Bruckner.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Compton. Cuesta.
Here.
Cupp.
Here.
Dennis.
Here.
Drotz. Fogel. Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Heatherman. Hesseltine. Hoffmans. Hulse. Hundley.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Kirchen.
Here.
Kid. Thank you. Kid.
Here.
Kermer. Lee.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Mason.
Here.
Melcher. Moore.
Here.
O'Malley.
Here.
Oury. Pelton. Peterson.
Here.
Rios. Rogers. Syat Carly.
Here.
Syat Nick.
Here.
Salmon. Shirky.
Here.
Streetman.
Here.
Strunk.
Here.
Sushanik.
Here.
West.
Here.
Winger. Wolf.
Here.
And Zacko.
Here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Brady. We'll now move into our first open period. First up, we have Speaker Emeritus Blake Phillips with Tracy Mann's office.
All right. Oh, rookie mistake. It's been too long.
Also,
well,
please close your laptops for our guest. Thank you.
thanks, Paige. I appreciate it. Well, thank you for the introduction, Kate. Good to see everyone again. For those of you who I haven't gotten to meet yet, my name is Blake Phillips, like Kate mentioned. I was previously in student government, so I'm super excited to be back. I graduated in May and served throughout my course of college, so super excited to be here and excited to be here in a different role as well. So today, as you can see, I will be talking a little bit about congressional internships, specifically with Congressman Tracy Mann, who is my boss. So super excited to be able to talk about that. We also have, congratulations are in order for President-elect Paige Volgamore, a former Tracy Mann intern in the House as well. So had to give Paige a shout out. But yeah, so just to start off, just by a quick show of hands, how many of you have had any interest whatsoever at all in any capacity about interning on Capitol Hill for a member of Congress, anything like that? You even thought about it? I love it. Look at all those hands. I am just here to talk a little bit about Congressman Mann's internship program and just hopefully be a resource for you all if that's something that you're interested in. So Ethan, if we'll hit the next slide. So first, I wanted to talk a little bit about what an internship in Washington, D.C. looks like. So Congressman Mann offers internships in his Washington, D.C. office, as well as offices in the district, and that's in Manhattan and Dodge City. So in Washington, D.C., a lot of the main responsibilities of interns is going to be helping attend lots of different hearings that are going on Capitol Hill. So learning from a lot of new people who are leaders in industry or whatever organization. Additionally, there will be briefings for new information that's come out and a lot of different studies, different things like that. And then finally, a lot of different meetings that you can go to, such as committee meetings, going to meetings with the member of Congress and such. These are really great opportunities to get to meet a lot of new people and to learn a lot of new things and are really applicable to any course of study because there are just so many topics that are talked about and debated upon on Capitol Hill. Another really cool thing is interns get to help give tours of the U.S. Capitol, which is a really unique and cool experience. It's really fun. Once you get your badge, you just have essentially free roam of the Capitol. So you get to explore so many different cool places, and it's really a privilege to get to interact with constituents in that way. Another thing that our interns are really helpful with is researching legislation. So there are thousands of pieces of legislation active at any point in time on the Hill, and our interns help us determine what pieces of legislation are important for a member of Congress to be involved in. And then finally, interns are also very helpful in corresponding with constituents, whether that be on the phone, on email, or whatever the case is. It's really important work that is really meaningful and helps develop a lot of skills. Next, there are also opportunities available to intern in the district office. So like I mentioned, Congressman Mann has internships in Manhattan and Dodge City. And these are really great opportunities to really engage directly with constituents. When you all went through committee selection earlier this year, the analogy may have been used for the Student Allocations Committee. Like if you like to interact with groups and see that work being done like in a meeting, that committee might be for you. I think that the same thing can be said here for internships in the district offices. You get to interact so closely with constituents directly from the district, and these are just really cool opportunities to be able to engage. So what that looks like is attending events with Congressman Mann when he's back in the district. So he'll get to go to several different things, and our interns and staff will help staff him there, as well as attend meetings in his place when he is not able to come because he's in DC voting. Great opportunities to help represent. Additionally, Congressman Mann does a town hall in every single county in the district every single year. So that's 60 of them. Lots of town halls, which requires a lot of help from our interns helping to plan those, as well as help execute those on the day of. So lots of different event planning skills that can be very beneficial. Additionally, like I mentioned, working on projects with constituents, whether that be an ag-focused project or something else. And then finally, potentially the opportunity to work on casework. So for example, say you applied for a passport, it's been processing for 4 months and is getting really frustrating. Congressman Mann's office can help with that and help speed up some of those processes. So great opportunities for our interns. Couple of details. So Congressman Mann offers internships during the summer, fall, and spring. So this is the fall information because it's the one that is most pertinent for the most amount of people. The application deadline for that is March 3rd, so right about 2 weeks away or so. And what's required for that is an application, simple application, resume, a writing sample, which is just 1 page over a topic that you are passionate about, and then finally 2 letters of recommendation. The dates for our internship are going to be May 20th through August 9th, and those dates are somewhat flexible, and you can also cut that internship in half if you'd like to for the first half or the second half of the summer. Additionally, there are a lot of other members of Congress and senators who offer internships as well, and they'll have similar dates. And I'm happy to, if any of you are interested in interning for another member of Congress as well, happy to be a resource and help provide information for that as well. But I also just wanted to throw some fun pictures up here of some fun things that you get to do in DC if you intern on Capitol Hill. So up in the top left, that is me and 2 of our current interns with our chief of staff on the top of the Capitol Dome. We got to do that 3 weeks ago or so. Paige, did you ever go on a dome tour? I'm sorry. I tried. So hopefully this is something that you get to do. It's a super cool experience. Additionally, in the bottom left, those are our group of interns from this summer and a couple of our staff members going to the White House, which is super cool. The White House in the spring and the fall also opens up the South Lawn for a garden tour where the public and interns can just kind of go look at the White House gardens, which is a really awesome thing. I have so many pictures of the Oval Office from that day, and it was super cool. I was geeking out. Sorry, Ethan, go back 1 slide really quick. In the middle there, that is our congressional softball team from this past summer. Softball is competitive on the Hill, and it's bipartisan, and we love it. You play on the National Mall, so it's a lot of fun. And then over there on the far right is our interns from this summer doing a scavenger hunt in front of Dwight D. Eisenhower in the Capitol. So just so many fun things that you get to do by interning in DC. But yeah, next slide. So this is my contact information. If you are ever interested in interning in Washington, D.C., or just working on the Hill in general, I want to help be a resource to you all. Student government was really the activity that allowed me to go out and work on the Hill. So I want to be helpful to any of you who might be interested in doing that. Regardless of if you're a political science major or anything like that, a Hill internship is always beneficial. It never looks bad to have interning for a member of Congress on your resume. And if you're anything like me, I started college in computer engineering, loved technology, realized that I didn't want to code, and realized that I didn't really want to build software. But software policy or technology policy was something that really interested me on how that can be used, the different regulations and applications for that. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, the Hill is a very nice place for you, and I would strongly encourage it. So anyway, please feel free to ask any questions now, or if you have any in the future, to reach out, and I am more than happy to help and be a resource. So I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Are there questions for the speaker? Chair Long.
Mike, thanks for being here. Good to see you again. Let's say I'm applying for an internship. What advice can you give me to make my application stand out?
Excellent question. So what I would do, especially in your writing sample, write truly about something that you're passionate about. There's several topics that you'll see a lot of in those writing samples that are, about semi-controversial pieces of legislation and things like that. But Jacob, for you specifically, you would probably write about construction science. And there would not be many construction science writing samples. So that's something that sticks out. And if we can tell that you're truly passionate about that, that helps out a lot. So that's probably the number one thing I'd say.
Senator Griffith.
Would you say the positions you held as KSU SGA were useful in getting your application accepted?
I think so, yeah. Especially because I had never had a Hill internship before coming on to staff full time. So having that background in legislative processes and different things like that, despite there's an obvious difference between student government and federal government, it really helped being familiar with all of those processes and knowing how a lot of that stuff worked. So I would absolutely say that was the case, and being in SGA helped me build so many connections to fill out my application. I had met Congressman Mann 2 or 3 different times through my positions in SGA prior to working for him, so I would also say that that was very helpful.
President-elect Vogelmoor.
Who was your favorite intern this summer?
Ooh. Ooh. So I'm not going to answer that question because, and this is a fun fact from Congressman Mann's office, we make all of our interns, I say make, we don't truly make, but we encourage them at the end of their internship on the very last day to tell us who their favorite and least favorite staffer was. And Paige did not say that I was her favorite staffer. So I don't know what you want me to say.
Chair Long.
Blake, what's the compensation structure like for an intern?
Yes, excellent question. So it is up to each office individually if they would like to compensate their interns. Congressman Mann's office does compensate their interns. So it's at different levels per office. This cuts out so much. Yeah, it's a different level per office, but yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Chair Long.
How much hourly?
How much hourly? I don't have the hourly number, but it's a stipend, like a monthly stipend. Ask Paige.
Further questions for our speaker?
Well, thank you all. I will stick around for a few minutes. Feel free to come up and ask me any questions if you have any. And I'll be around until Saturday. So please always feel free to reach out, and go Cats.
Thank you so much. Okay, are there any further first open period speakers? Seeing none, we will go into approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed on Tuesday along with the agenda and legislation tracking information. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Chair Cuesta.
I move to approve the minutes.
It has been moved and seconded. The minutes will stand approved. Next up, we have announcements. First, the Senate Executive Committee applications are now open. They will close March 29th, followed by interviews by your new speaker and new pro tempore. We already have 7 applications submitted for the Senate Executive Committee, and that is awesome since it opened yesterday. But please apply and let me or any of our chairs or current members know if you have any questions. My second announcement did not make it onto the page because you got an email about it today. Nomination forms are open for all of our end of the year awards. the Susan M. Scott Outstanding Female Leader Award, the Bernard Franklin Outstanding Advocate Award, the Amy Button Renz Outstanding Achievement Award, and the Dr. Pat Bosco Outstanding Partner Award. So please go into Org Central and fill those out, or click on the links that were sent to you by President Stout. 2, proxies. If you're going to be absent from Student Senate meeting, please fill out the link, even if you aren't sure if your absence will be excused. 3, if you'll be physically absent from Student Senate but would still like to attend via Zoom, please fill out the Student Senate Zoom request form. 4, if you want to give props to someone in Student Senate, fill out the Senate shoutout form, and Speaker Pro Tem Kappelman will read them at the end of our meeting. 5, the SGA member of the week is Nick Saya. Nick handled elections this week incredibly well, managing hearings, promoting our organization, and pushing out communications. Thank you for your hard work and dedication, Nick. We have the upcoming events calendar, and the quote of the week is, "You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, you make progress by implementing ideas," by Shirley Chisholm. Next up, we have commendations. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 232466? Senator Koch.
I move to consider Resolution 66.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Will the author please come forward? Because the author's not here, do one of the sponsors want to come forward? Sure.
Okay. Resolution 232466. Commendation to Dr. John Fleiter. Yay! Authors Andrew Navarro. Sponsors Bobby Bruckner, Elizabeth Chapman, Carson Cuesta, Jacob Hoffman, Andrew Lee, Gracie Joe Stanton, Samantha Suchanik, Bentley Talbert, and Katie West. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSUSGA, should recognize outstanding faculty members within their field. Whereas Dr. John Fleiter is a political science professor that has taught at Kansas State University for 30 years. And whereas Dr. John Fleiter has received multiple awards for his teaching and publications during his tenure as a professor. Whereas the Ronald N. Gotche's Lifetime Teaching Award acknowledges ongoing excellence in undergraduate teaching, as well as teaching innovations that improve teaching practices within their college to a professor who has taught at K-State for at least 5 years. Whereas on February 9th, 2024, Dr. John Fleiter received the Ronald N. Gotche's Lifetime Teaching Award, and whereas Dr. John Fleiter's time at Kansas State University has made a lasting impact on students and professors who interacted with him. Be it resolved that the Kansas State University Student Governing Association recognizes and applauds Dr. John Fleiter's long-term dedication to excellence in his teaching. Upon passage by the Student Senate, a signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Dr. John Fleiter, Department Head of Political Science, Dr. Nathaniel Burkhead, Dean of College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Chris Culbertson, Interim Provost and Executive Vice President, Dr. Debbie Mercer, and University President, Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Are there questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Senator Koch.
I move to approve Resolution 66 unanimously. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. It will stand approved. Okay, now that we have exhausted commendations, we will go into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Chair Long.
I do those things first.
Okay.
Let's start with the reserve account thing. That's for later.
All right, it has been a busy week for SSF. I apologize. General report as of tonight, assuming that Fine Arts passes without change, we will have finished our yearly allotment of reviews for the student services fee. So the $14.1 million budget. At the end of the day, we have raised the student services fee, not the fee students pay, but the budget that we have by $32,000. That is effectively keeping it the same. We had $100,000 contractually going down next year. The bulk of that came from increasing Lafine by $136,000. We also increased Wildcat Watch by $4,000, and then Fine Arts is going up by $3,000, $6,000, and $9,000 in the coming years. And then Collegian was decreased by several $1,000s as well. So $30,000 overall increase the student services fee. Second, something that happened today and the committee will be doing on Monday, which I haven't talked about quite yet, is Cat's Cupboard will be bringing forward a proposal to increase the student services fee and add them to the student services fee starting next fiscal year. The committee will be getting an email from me about that tonight. We will discuss the procedure for that in the next coming weeks. For K-Board guidelines, that needs to happen pretty fast, so maybe a long meeting on Monday. So committee members get ready for that one. In final action, you will hear me make a motion for reconsideration to Bill 50, which was the continuance of the CAPS budget for student services fee. Due to faults of many people, including Blake Phillips, I'll blame him, we passed a bill giving CAPS $926,000 as a continuance. Their current budget is actually $943,000. So the bill we passed technically lowered them by $16,000 some dollars. So we're going to reconsider that bill so we can actually put their budget the same it is currently and give them an actual continuance, not decrease their budget. So that's what that's going to be about. And then something that I didn't understand for a very long time was SSF's reserve account. And that's something when Blake Phillips taught me how to do the SSF chair, it took me a while to grasp and understand. So I thought I would talk through, before you all start hearing about it here a little bit, about SSF's reserve accounts. So we have two of them. One is bond surplus, or general surplus as it has been currently renamed to. Its purpose is to pay our bond obligations if everything else goes wrong. We have two bonds on the student services fee, one for the union and one for the rec. They total about $3.4 million, and they'll be on our student services fee until 2036 and 2040, so they're around for a while. We're required to keep 1 year of bond payments in our reserve accounts in case everything goes wrong and we can't pay them. So that comes out to $2.7 million. And currently, that account has $5.5 million in it. Every year, we automatically deposit $700,000 into that one, so it builds on itself all the time. That one is used for large ticket items in concert administration. So the thing that was maybe going to happen this year was looking at purchasing some land for rec fields. That didn't end up happening, but if we were going to go forward with that, if we're talking about $1 million purchases, it would come out of this bond account, this reserve account, in concert with administration, Dr. Lane and Ethan Erickson, such like that. This is also the account we use to pay for insufficient funds in case entities can't pay their bills and such like that. The second is debt reduction and emergency allocation, which sounds a lot scarier than it actually is. It is there for emergency, but also for one-time budget enhancement. It's essentially SGA's in our control, what we can use more freely, reserve monies. It is filled by surplus when we collect. So we budget at we have a budget of $14.1 million. We aim to collect about $14.3 million. That difference, our surplus, goes into this account. That's usable. Currently has $932,000. It's projected to have, that number's not accurate after today actually, about $1.5 million starting next year. And this is what we as SGA want to see done and used money account. That's what that's coming from. So those are the two we have in SGA's reserve accounts. I just want to talk through those because in introduction this week, you will see a usage of the debt reduction emergency allocation. So those are the separation of those two and what they have in them right now. Chair Lynn, are you ready?
Yes.
Final thing is, in conversations on Monday's SSF meeting, there was discussion about the research performed on what other institutions are doing to compensate their membership. Chair Lynn led that research, and we'll give a brief report on that now.
Ethan, can you open the spreadsheet I sent you?
So I emailed every one of our peer institutions, student body presidents, and all of the student body presidents in the Big 12, asking what their compensation structure looked like. And so I got answers from several of them and put the results in here. So just so we have something to compare when we're looking at our compensation, I wanted to know what that looked like for other universities. So starting with Oregon State, this model is an hourly model, and every person in their student government gets paid hourly. So senators are going to be 32 hours a month at $16.24. The Senate Pro Tem, who I think is the equivalent of their speaker, 60 hours a month at $16.76. All of their cabinet directors, 72 hours a month at $16.24. Coordinators, I don't really know exactly what that entails, but that was 96 hours a month at $16.76. Their judicial members, depending on the position, 20 hours a month, 28 and 40, 1676, 1728, and 1624. And then the members of their student fees committee get paid for 12 hours a month, 1624, and then the chair of that committee is 1728. Moving down to Colorado State, this was another hourly model. Based on my conversation with the student body president at CSU, it seems as though most of the work happens on the executive branch side, so deputy directors and directors getting paid like on a salary model for a certain number of hours a week where they track their time. So they get paid that amount of money for that many hours a week. But he actually let me know that the total amount that they have wrapped up in compensation is $348,000. So obviously a really significant number there, one that we aren't actually even anywhere close to. Louisiana State, if we scroll down to that one. Student body president, this one is same kind of model. They log their hours per week, but get paid kind of like a salary. So you can see student body president 2,000, VP 2,000, speaker and speaker pro tem 1,500, chief of staff and Senate secretary 500 each for 20 hours a week for all of those positions. Iowa State has a model really similar to us where we do the tuition. So their president is also receiving 100% tuition. And then the members are listed with the parking passes. So their finance director, VP, president all get parking passes. And then speaker is going to get 50% tuition and parking pass. Vice Speaker, Chief of Staff, and Chief Justice all receive only parking passes. Moving down to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is another salary model, so they're getting paid just a lump sum of $3,000 for the president, $1,600 for the VP, Speaker $1,800, Treasurer $1,200, chairs $600, vice chairs $250, and then the chair of their budget committee also $250. Several of their members also receive parking passes, including the president, VP, speaker, and vice speaker. And then they have football suite tickets for their members as well. Consistently, for every game, the president, VP, and the speaker get suites to get tickets to sit in the football suites. The last one is Houston. They actually sent me the most comprehensive list of all of their compensation. All of the other schools sent me only the monetary compensation, and then I hadn't received any answers when I asked about non-monetary compensation. Houston sent me their entire budget. So this includes, again, another salary model. So these numbers here for each of those particular positions. But they also allocate $750 for food and snacks for the SGA office, $1,000 worth of meal cards for some of their members. I wasn't sure exactly which ones actually received those meal cards. And then $2,000 allocated for their banquet yearly. So if that gives you any idea of kind of where we stand as far as compensation structures go, hopefully this is maybe a little bit helpful to inform some of the discussions we start having in the next couple weeks.
Okay. Peyton, I wouldn't be shocked if there's a question about compensation here in a second. That's it. Ask me questions about our reserve accounts, please. Ask us questions about the compensation structures of other universities.
Senator Griffith.
Sorry, but this is about neither of those things. It's about the motion of the special order you're about to make. Not special
No,
order.
reconsider, yes.
In the statute, section 2, section 02-0209, limitations on motions, subsection F, it states a motion to reconsider final action on a bill or resolution requiring the signature of the student body president is in order at any meeting of the student senate if the bill or resolution is still in the possession of the legislative branch, meaning it hasn't been signed by the student body president. Then in the Constitution, in Article 4, Section 406, Section C, it states that regardless of whether or not it's been signed or vetoed, if no action has been taken on it in 8 days, it automatically passes. So I'm pretty sure, so I believe that means that your motion would be out of order. Are you aware of this?
I'm not certain on that. I don't think it is. We'll get to that in a minute. If not, Vivian, truthfully, I'll move to suspend the rules to fix this contract. This is a circumstance where we can change 2 numbers and call it a day.
Point of clarification, the contracts haven't been signed yet, which could have an impact. Senator Koch.
Yeah, so the money that is in our surplus accounts, because the students have paid that money, shouldn't we be like giving this out to the students, like letting them know that some of this money is going to go here? Because do they have access of knowing where the money is already going? And so how could we tell them that SGA is using this money however we're going to use it?
And truthfully, I would say that that is the importance of electing good representatives to this body. The senators in this room get the decision on where those surplus dollars go. That's why we have the power and importance in that regard, and that's why it's important for people to elect good representatives.
Senator Shirkey.
Senator Kidd has a question on the Zoom.
But this one's for you.
I'm going to take Senator Shirkey first, and then I'll take Kidd.
Why is the decision being planned to take some of the money from that debt emergency reserve account and use it for SGA compensation as opposed to more actions that are more immediately beneficial to the constituency, like an across-the-board tuition reduction for the following fiscal year?
On that, I would say across-board tuition reduction is not a possibility, and these are beneficial to students, but I will leave the rest of that discussion to when it comes up in introduction here in a minute. So when we introduce the bill, I'm more than happy to answer that question in full.
Caucus Leader Kidd.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I have a quick question over the institutions that were reached out to get some more research on how they compensate their folks involved with their SGAs. Did they say, or do we have info on like where these dollars are coming from for these other schools? Is it similar to us as where like all this money is coming from the students that are paying for it, or are these donated funds just like comped things, or are these funds coming from like the president's office? Like, do they say where the money's all coming from?
Yeah, so by and large, the money for compensation is coming from their budgets. That's coming from student fees and or tuition in some way, shape, or form. The only thing that was comped in a couple of circumstances were parking passes. Particularly, yeah.
Senator Fogel.
Sorry, I was a little bit late coming in here, so I apologize if you've talked about this already. But how many universities did you reach out to that just did not do compensation similar to what we do right now?
I reached out to one institution that got back to me that does not compensate at all. That was Fort Hays State University. Every single other student body president that I reached out to responded that they are compensated in some way, and that's what's reflected on the spreadsheet. I didn't have any other institutions say that they weren't compensated at all, but I can't say anything about the ones that didn't get back to me.
So KU is compensated.
KU did not respond to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, point of clarification, KU officers are compensated. We had general discussions at Big 12 conferences about it. Senator Shirkey.
Chair Lynn, during the course of this survey, when you were getting your data from these colleges and student government associations, did you ask what effect did you receive any data on what effect these compensation packages had on senator retention and recruitment?
Yeah, so I had a couple of them, maybe 2 or 3. I responded again with like, how has this affected your recruitment and retention? They said that they didn't have maybe specific data to back up those claims, but that they were under the impression that like the compensation structure, particularly for, I think it's Colorado State University that has about $350,000, that compensation is a pretty big motivating factor for their students. The other ones that I replied again to hadn't gotten back to me.
Follow up, did you?
Time for questions is expired.
Senator Koch.
I'm going to extend time of questioning for 5 minutes?
Second.
Is that allowed?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, time for questions is extended. Senator Shirkey.
Follow-up question. Chairman, did you either collect yourself or maybe get this data from the respective governing associations, information on what the student body at large at all of these institutions thought of such compensation packages?
I did not.
Follow-up. Final one, I promise.
Granted.
Madam Speaker. Sorry, one moment. Forgot how to quite word this. No, sorry, move on. I'll put my thing up again.
Senator Griffith.
How many other institutions, Chair Lynn, did you reach out to that did not respond?
Oh God, okay, so I reached out to all the ones in the Big 12. If someone knows off the top of their head how many that is now. So 16 from the Big 12, and then all of our peer institutions, which is another number that I'm not sure about. No, more than 5. 7, 8, something like that.
So around 20 institutions.
Something like that, yeah.
Follow up.
In your data, did it include that you received the amount of money that their student services fee how much they have in their student services fee? Or their equivalent?
I didn't ask about the student services fees, no.
I'll put in here. The idea of a student services fee is not the same for a lot of universities. Our structure, the amount of money we have is very unique in how much it is. A lot of other universities have control over more but smaller separate funds.
Senator Shirkey.
Do you have any data from these universities on how recently these compensation packages began? Have some of these universities recently introduced compensation, or have they kind of always done it at their respective institutions?
I didn't ask how long they had been compensating their officers. No.
Chair Cuesta.
Can you speak to the institutions whose administration cover the cost of compensation?
I didn't receive any data suggesting that the institution itself covered their compensation.
I guess I'm not aware. Big 12 people who went. Are there any? Yeah, I'm not aware of any institutes that administration cover compensation.
Senator Koch.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of go back up at the beginning. So you said something about Cats Covered possibly joining the student services fee next year?
Yes.
Okay, so I know obviously it's going to have to go through the SSF committee, and that'll be an interesting committee. But if Cats Covered decides to join in with this fee, if you guys decide to let them join with this fee, how much do you think the fee would increase per student?
I cannot say. That is up entirely to the committee what Cats Covered needs. I can tell you that a 2% increase on the fee is about $285,000 or $10 a student. I cannot imagine by any means it would be above that amount of money. I would think it'd be less than half that amount of money, but we don't know what Cats Covered will be requesting quite yet.
Senator Glasscock.
Would you be able to send this out, the spreadsheet?
Sure.
Senator Shirkey.
Do you have any data from the Kansas State University student body on their opinions of starting at this university financial compensation for rank and file senators?
Well, we already have compensation for our certain members. Student body president receives an hourly compensation, and speaker receives an hourly compensation. And then we also have scholarships that are funded.
With all due respect, Chair Lynn, that was not the question. Do you have data on compensation for all rank and file senators? Did you send out a request to the student body to see what their opinions would be on compensation for all senators?
Sure.
Senator Shirkey, I'd love to keep talking about the data for this one. Can we do that maybe at a different time or in committee? There was not a general body request to everybody on what they thought. Anecdotally, people I've talked to, yes, they like the idea.
Chair Sushanik.
Could you give us some insight as to why this data is being collected outside of JCOC and what purpose this serves?
The Joint Committee on Officer Compensation is designed for officers and student senate, being myself, the Student Services Fee Chair, Carson, the Student Allocations Chair, Kate, the Speaker, Caleb, the President. The JCOC, Joint Committee on Officer, for those who don't know, I apologize. JCOC, the Joint Committee on Officer Compensation, meets one every 3 years of people that will not be seeking an officer position to decide what our officers shall be paid. JCOC's purview has nothing to do with general compensation membership. Very specific.
Time for questions has expired.
Thank you.
This is a complicated one. If you've got any more questions for me, please email me or come to the meeting on Monday at 5 p.m.
Okay. Are there further committee chairs that would like to give a report tonight? Awesome. Seeing none, are there any directors that would like to give a report tonight? Awesome. We will move into approval of the allocations. First up, we have Bill 60, the allocation to Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society. Bill 61, allocation to Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences. Bill 62, allocation to On the Spot Improv Club. 63, allocation to Pre-Dental Club. 64, allocation to Pre-Vet Med Club. And 65, allocation to Wrestling Club. All of them were referred out favorably, 8-0 to 0. Chair Cuesta?
There's one correction on Bill 62, which is the recommended amount to on-the-spot improv is 45 employees. With that, I move to approve the allocations. Unanimously. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the allocations will stand approved. With that, we will move into final action. First up on Bill 67, amendments to the KSU SGA Comprehensive Plan. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yes. So
they're highlighted on the screen.
Yeah, so basically everything that's highlighted is all the new stuff. So we took out pretty much all of the objectives that were previously listed in section 2 because we realized that those weren't objectives and those were action plan or action items. So we actually wanted to give you guys the real objectives because you guys deserve it. So the objectives are: 1, students across KSU's academic colleges should be provided access to career exploration tools and resources. 2, KSU should work to connect all students with career opportunities that are relevant to their academic pursuits. And 3, KSU should prioritize incorporating applied learning experiences into new and existing career-oriented programs.
Okay, you have first rights to debate.
Yeah, so basically what the goal of this chapter of the comprehensive plan is to really just focus on career exploration and career readiness, because while we have a chapter dedicated to academic support, we want to not just have it be solely based on academics in college. We want to have it be more like looking after college, more of like the wide lens view. And so it's like some of the action items we're thinking about including is like networking with like alumni in different colleges and professors. We're looking at really just trying to focus on getting people into careers, getting people to like actually like do the things that they're going to be doing, because it's going to be awkward if you don't really know what you're going into until you graduate. That's just going to kind of not be fun. And so we really just want to have this chapter be able to just get people ready for college, like life after college.
Awesome, thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote on Bill 67.
All right. Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs.
Yes.
Blood. Broughton.
Yes, by proxy?
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton. Cuesta.
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz. Dunce.
Yes, by proxy.
Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Heatherman.
Yes.
Hesseltine.
Yes, by proxy.
Hoffmans. Holst.
Yes, by proxy.
Hunley.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Kirchen.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Kinsey.
Yes, by proxy.
Lee.
Yes.
Lilly.
Yes, by proxy.
Long. Lynn.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Melcher. Moore.
Yes.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Oury. Pelton.
Yes, by proxy.
Peterson.
Yes.
Rios.
Yes, by proxy.
Rivard.
Yes, by proxy.
Rogers. Syatt Carly.
Yes.
Syatt Nick. Salmon. Shirky.
Yes.
Streetman.
Yes.
Strunk.
Yes.
Sushanik.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Winger. Wolf.
Yes.
And Zacko.
Yes.
All right. Bill 232467 will pass on a vote of 40 to 0 to 0.
Okay, next up in final action, we have Bill 232469, amendment to the KSU SGA statutes regarding a quorum. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Other than Phil strictly being added as a sponsor, no.
Okay, you have first rights to debate.
Wonderful. The main point I have to say with debate on this bill is the fact that I believe that proxy should be counted towards a quorum, because fundamentally, if you have gone out of your way to obtain a proxy, then your vote has been accounted for. That means that you trust the person to vote on behalf of you, which means that you are, in essence, at that meeting, essentially in them. So you are accounted for, and therefore you should count towards a quorum, so business can be done.
Thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative? Further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all on Bill 69? Oh, Henry Kirshen, do you have debate?
In the positive, yes.
Okay, sounds good.
I just wanted to speak my support as this is a process that is actually how we do it here in Salina. Any proxy sort of like attendance does actually count towards quorum. As we do have smaller members, it's important that we are able to count those votes appropriately. So I just wanted to speak my support for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote on Bill 69.
All right. Bellamy.
No.
Biggs.
No.
Blood.
No by proxy.
Broughton.
Abstain by proxy.
Bruckner.
No.
Cope.
No.
Compton. Cuesta.
No.
Cup.
No.
Dennis.
No.
Drox. Dunce. Fogel.
No by proxy, sorry.
You're good. Fogel.
No.
Glasscock.
No.
Griffith.
Yes.
Haynes.
Pass.
Heatherman.
No.
Heseltine.
No by proxy.
Hoffmans. Holz.
No by proxy.
Hundley.
No.
Jacobson.
No.
Kirchen.
Yes.
Kidd.
No.
Kermer.
No.
Kinsey.
No by proxy.
Lee.
Pass.
Lilly.
Abstain by proxy.
Long.
No.
Lynn.
No.
Mason.
No.
Melcher. Moore.
No.
O'Malley.
No.
Oury. Pelton.
No by proxy.
Peterson.
No.
Rios.
Abstain by proxy.
Rivard.
Yes by proxy.
Rogers. Syat Carly.
Yes.
Syat Nick.
Yes.
Salmon. Shirky.
Yes.
Streetman.
No.
Strunk.
No.
Sushanik.
No.
West.
No.
Winger. Wolf.
No.
Zacco.
No.
All right, going back to passes. Haynes.
No.
And Lee.
Abstain.
All right. Bill 232469 will fail on a vote of 6 to 33 to 4.
Okay. We will now move on to Bill 232470, amendments to the KSU SGA statutes regarding actions on legislation within committees. Will the author please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yes, the wording of Section C has been changed. It now reads, "The Speaker of the Student Senate or the representative thereof shall give a report regarding each piece of legislation that was not referred out of committee. If a committee fails to meet a quorum to vote on legislation, did not meet the subsequent week, or failed to complete its agenda for that meeting, then this must be relayed to Student Senate. If a piece of legislation is held in committee, then it is not necessary to relay its status again until and unless further action is taken."
Okay, you have first rights to debate.
Alrighty. I believe that adding this section into the reports is a perfect way to show that the Speaker of the Student Senate is in full aware of what is happening in all of the committees and all the special committees. Plus, it saves time by not having to have each and every one of the committee chairs come up and say exactly why. Because if we want to be very clear, open, and knowledgeable about what is happening, this is something that I think covers that.
Thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, Senator Koch.
I have an amendment.
Okay.
I moved to
Yep.
amend this legislation.
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Can you get that pulled up, Ethan? Oh, perfect. So if you could state the amendment, and then we will debate on whether or not to consider the amendment before voting on the amendment itself. Got it.
Yeah, so basically this amendment is going to be basically getting rid of that word "or" before of their representative, and then adding "or a committee chair" to that sentence. Am I gonna just go ahead and debate? Yeah, so basically this will let the committee chair, who is the source of whatever conversation is gonna happen in committee, it'll let that chair be able to actually like give more reliable information, because while the speaker may be the representative, it is important that the committee chair themselves will be able to present that, because they were a part of that conversation. And so that chair, while they may rely it to the Speaker of the Student Senate, it's not going to be as full of a story and as full of a picture as the committee chair itself.
Okay, seeing as that was debate in the positive on the consideration of the amendment, is there any debate in the negative? Any further debate in the positive? Any further debate at all? Okay, we're going to go into a hand vote on whether or not to consider the amendment. All in favor, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. Okay. So now we can go into debate on the actual amendment. We were just debating on the consideration of the amendment. Amendments are weird.
I'm good.
Okay, is there any debate in the positive on the amendment? Is there any debate in the negative? Senator Griffith.
This is something I was expecting to happen, as this was a question that was brought up during first action last week. But the reason I did not include the committee chair to do it is because it was mainly something that I wanted the speaker to do, to represent that they have full understanding and knowledge of what is going on, but it does specify their representative thereof. So if they feel that the committee chair has the ability to better represent why a piece of legislation was not referred out, they can always have that person go up to discuss it, or any questions that might have can be always deferred to the committee chair. So essentially what is in this is already covered by the bill, so I insist you vote no on the amendment.
Okay, seeing as that was debate in the negative on the amendment, is there debate in the positive? Is there further debate in the negative? Is there any further debate at all? Okay, we will move into a hand vote on adopting this amendment. All those in favor of adoption, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. That amendment will stand adopted. Okay, now we are going to go back into debate on the bill itself as amended. We are on negative debate. So is there any debate in the negative on the bill as amended? So debate in the positive on the bill as amended. And is there any further debate at all on the bill as amended? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote.
Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs.
No.
No by proxy.
Broughton.
Yes by proxy.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton. Cuesta.
Yes.
Cup.
No.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz. Dunce.
No by proxy.
Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Heatherman.
Yes.
Hesseltine.
Yes by proxy.
Hoffmans. Hulse.
No by proxy.
Hunley.
Pass.
Jacobson.
No.
Kirchen.
Yes.
Kidd. Kerwin.
Yes.
Kinsey.
No by proxy.
Lee.
Yes.
Lilly.
Yes by proxy.
Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Melcher, Moore, O'Malley,
Yes.
Yes.
Lowry,
Yes by proxy.
Pelton,
No by proxy.
Peterson,
Pass.
Rios,
Yes by proxy.
Rivard, Rogers, Syatt Carly,
Yes.
Syatt Nick,
Yes.
Salmon, Shirky,
Yes.
Streetman,
Yes.
Strunk,
No.
Sushanik,
Pass.
West,
Yes.
Winger, Wolf,
No.
Zapko.
Yes.
Going back to passes, Hunley,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Sushanik.
No.
All right. Bill 232470 will pass on a vote of 32 to 11 to 0.
Okay, next up in final action, we have Bill 232474, increase of the Fine Arts Student Services Fee Agreement. This was referred favorably at 6 to 0 to 1. Have any changes been made?
Yes. Technically, ISSS should be spelled out right before it to say that one. And then the vote total on line 63. Michael Jacobson, were you in the room? Was it 7 to 0 to 1? It was 6 to 0 to 1 or 7 to 0 to 1. I apologize.
Which one?
On line 63, and then on line
6 to 0 to 1.
thank you 37, ISSS was spelled out with his full name.
It's correct.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm reading last week's, aren't I? All right, I apologize.
You have first rights to debate.
Excellent. The committee went through the full process on this one and heard the individual presentations of all these entities, music, dance, theater, ISSS, McCain, etc., all of them, and looked at them holistically on what to increase or decrease and how the budgets were being used. McCain in particular really impressed the committee with its over 100% utilization and really big draw to students and increase. All these entities have suffered losses to inflation, so we gave a small increase to all of them for that. And dance in particular has skyrocketed their enrollment due to the introduction of their secondary major. So their participation enrollment rates are gone up as well, so there's more money for that one. Really, these are not dramatic or large changes. They will allow these entities to either maintain their current performance or return some of their pre-COVID levels. This is what they need. Oh, yes.
Thank you. Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there any debate in the negative? Is there further debate in the positive? And is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote.
All right. Bellamy,
Yes.
Biggs,
Yes.
Blood,
Yes by proxy.
Broughton,
Yes by proxy.
Bruckner,
Yes.
Koch,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes by proxy.
Questa,
Yes.
Cup,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Drotz, Duntz,
Yes for proxy.
Fogel,
Yes.
Glasscock,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Heatherman,
Yes.
Hesseltine,
Oh, yes by proxy.
Hoffmans, Hulse, Hunley,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Kirchen,
Yes.
Kidd, Kermer,
Yes.
Kinsey,
Yes by proxy.
Lee,
Yes.
Lilly, Long,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Melcher, Moore, O'Malley,
Yes.
Lowry, Pelton,
Yes by proxy.
Peterson,
Yes.
Rios,
Yes by proxy.
Rivard,
Yes by proxy.
Rogers, Sayat Carly,
Yes.
Sayat Nick,
Yes.
Salman, Shirky,
Yes.
Streetman,
Yes.
Strunk,
Yes.
Sushanik,
Yes.
West,
Oh, yes.
Winger, Wolf,
Yes.
and Zacko.
Yes.
Bill 23-2474 will pass on a vote of 41 to 0 to 0.
Thanks, Brady. We will now move into.
I move to reconsider Bill 50.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to reconsider Bill 50. Is that a hand vote?
Point of information,
Sure.
what is Bill 50?
It is the CAPS contract that Chair Long brought up in the first open period speech. It is because it needs to be amended because one of the numbers is wrong.
Point of information,
Yes.
is this motion out of order according to the statutes and the Constitution?
I'm going to rule no. If you would like to object, we can motion to suspend the rules. Chair Long.
I am presiding by statute section 020209. Motion to reconsider final action on any bill or resolution required to change introduced by the president, which this does, is in order at any meeting of the student senate if the bill or resolution is still in possession of the legislative branch, which it is. If there's a conflict, let's bring that up with the Committee on Governing Docket Line.
Okay. Seeing no objection, we're going to go to a hand vote on the motion to reconsider. All of those in favor of reconsidering so that we can fix that number, raise your placard now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. Okay. Chair Long.
Well, technically, I'm first rights to debate right now, aren't I?
Let's tell the kids what you're.
So actually, I'm going to motion to amend right now.
Let's tell them what you're reconsidering first.
Sure. This is the same CAPS contract as was a couple weeks ago. Like I said, there's the numbers on here is wrong, what their actual budget is. So I'm going to motion to amend it here in a second to change to the actual correct number that the committee intended.
Okay. Now, would you like to motion to amend?
I move to amend Bill 50 as follows in that amendment.
State that amendment.
Ethan, would you mind scrolling down to the actual contract portion of this? Right there, up a little bit. So instead of $926,000 a year, it's $943,587. And to be clear, this is a continuance of their current budget. This is not a budget change. This is what the committee intended to happen, continuing their current budget. We had a contract with the wrong number on that we passed, so we tentatively decreased their budget. We don't want to do that. The intention is to continue their budget as is, and that's what reflected in this one.
Okay. Is there any debate in the, so we're now debating on the motion to consider this amendment. Is there debate in the negative on the motion to consider this amendment? Debate in the positive? Any further debate at all? Okay, we're going to go into a hand vote on whether or not to consider the amendment. All those in favor, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. Okay, now we are going into debate on the amendment itself. Is there debate in the positive on the amendment itself?
I yield.
So debate in the negative. Is there any further debate at all? Now we're going to go into a hand vote on the contents of the amendment. Senator Griffith.
I move to suspend the rules and approve Bill 50 unanimously.
There's a pending motion on approving the amendment first. So let's do that, and then we can do that. All those in favor of approving this amendment, please raise your placards now. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. Okay, the bill will stand amended. Senator Griffith, did you now want to make your motion?
I withdraw my motion.
Okay. We will now go into regular debate on the motion, or on the legislation as amended. Chair Long, you have first rights to debate.
Mental health is good. If you voted yes last time, vote yes again. Thank you.
Is there any debate in the negative on this piece of legislation as amended? Is there further debate in the positive? Is there any further debate at all? Seeing none, we will go into a roll call vote.
All right. Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs. Blood.
Yes by proxy.
Broughton.
Yes by proxy.
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Yes.
Compton. Cuesta.
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz. Dunce.
Yes by proxy.
Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Heatherman. Hesseltine.
Yes by proxy.
Hoffmans. Hulse. Hunley.
Yes.
Jacobson.
Yes.
Kirchen.
Yes.
Kidd. Kermer.
Yes.
Kinsey.
Yes by proxy.
Lee.
Yes.
Lilly.
Yes by proxy.
Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Melcher. Moore.
Yes.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Lowry. Pelton.
Yes by proxy.
Peterson.
Yes.
Rios.
Yes by proxy.
Rivard.
Yes by proxy.
Rogers. Syed Carly.
Yes.
Syed Nick.
Yes.
Solomon. Shirky.
Yes.
Streetman.
Yes.
Strunk.
Yes.
Sushanik.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Winger. Wolf.
Yes.
Zacko.
Yes.
All right, going back to passes. Jacobson
Yes.
and Kermer. All right. Last call for Kermer.
I think you said yes earlier.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. Bill 232450 will pass on a vote of 41 to 0 to 0.
Perfect. We will now go on to introduction of allocations. We have Bill 75, allocation to resident acapella. They requested $2,450 and are recommended $2,000. We have Bill 76, allocation to the American Nuclear Society, requested $1,000, are recommended $800. Bill 77 is allocation to the fishing team. They requested $1,325 and are recommended $1,225. Bill 78, allocation to the International Coordinating Council, requested $100 and are recommended $100. Bill 79 is allocation to the KSU Photo Club. They are requested $6,360 and are recommended $860. Bill 80 is allocation to the National Society of Black Engineers. They requested $400 and are recommended $400. Is there a motion to consider the allocations? Chair Cuesta.
I move to consider the allocations.
Second.
Okay. Those will stand considered, and we will move on to introduction of legislation. First up, we have Resolution 232467, recommendation to the Kansas State University regarding e-communications. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Glasscock.
I move to consider resolution 67.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Will the author please come forward?
I'm committed now. I'm sure it's in here. Got it.
Recommendation to Kansas State University regarding e-communication. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association believes that students should be offered safe and useful communication through KSU channels. Whereas private vendors, including Lauren Studios and OCM College Life, contact KSU students under a Kansas State University label. Whereas certain vendors imply that students must respond with subject line phrases such as action needed and important graduation information. Whereas online communication from KSU, KSU subunits, and KSU affiliates is in aggregate oversaturated. Whereas students are frequently exposed to online threats such as phishing attacks through their KSU email account. Whereas these problems create an overly ambiguous and unhelpful information landscape with many potential dangers. Whereas KSU students, faculty, and staff alike suffer from breaches of campus information security, and whereas students would be safer and better informed if communication from KSU were more clearly defined and less frequent. Be it resolved that the Kansas State University Student Governing Association recommends that KSU prohibit private entities from using a Kansas State University label or otherwise impersonating KSU. Section 2, KSU SGA believes that KSU should, over the long term, seek to economize newsletters, updates, and other messaging to students. Section 3, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to incoming Vice President Communications and Marketing, Patrick Burt, and University President, Dr. Richard H. Linton.
Questions or corrections for the author? Senator Griffith.
On section 1, when you say that they should prohibit private entities, does this include all of like the scam bots that are used in phishing attacks? And if so, what manner do you think the university should take to prevent that? Like taking legal action against them for impersonation, or otherwise, and is it even possible?
I mean, no one's allowing the phishing, right? Like it's not something we're fine with. So I don't know how you're supposed to police that behavior, but it's obvious that there are other entities that aren't acting illegally, right? I just don't think that they should be communicating to students in this way.
Senator Fogel.
Yeah, it might be a dumb question, but private entity, would not fall under the alumni, the foundation, excuse me.
Well, I would say that I consider the foundation to be private, but also the foundation doesn't contact me saying that they're Kansas State University. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions or corrections for the author? Senator Griffith.
Are you sure this isn't already illegal?
We get a lot of emails from these services for it to be for services that advertise themselves, right? It's not a click the link here type of situation. They pretty plainly advertise to students, and it certainly isn't my instinct that behavior is illegal, but I couldn't say for sure.
Senator Shirkey.
So this is technically only from personal experience. I don't have data on this, but I would assume that it happens to every K-State student in a similar position. I am not of drinking age, and I get automatic emails from vendors that just send it to me, presumably because I'm a K-State student, and they do this, right? So they do this, they say they're KSU, and then I feel like that reflects poorly on the university that they're actually not, but it seems as though they're encouraging underage people to drink. Is this resolution going to impact the actions like that, from sales like that to members of the student body? Is this going to work to that problem?
Well, that's a great question. I haven't personally had any communication like that sent my way, so it would be hard for me to fill in the context. But it's unfortunate that such circumstances happen. I mean, I think I would struggle to think of events that have affected all students so significantly as the IT troubles from earlier this semester. And we really haven't done anything to respond to that in any way, which, to some extent, it's not our issue. But I do think that some things that we might have full right to express opinion over do have a lot to do with this. And particularly in my role as elections commissioner, I found it frustrating to get out information to people because the environment is so full all of the time. It's very difficult for us to communicate information to students. And I think a different course might be necessary.
Derek Jackson.
So just a point of clarification. So like the OCEM piece of this actually acts on behalf of the Association of Residence Halls to provide marketing things that students and families may want to purchase. There is a percent that goes back to the Association of Residence Hall as a fundraiser. So they're acting on behalf of an entity within Kansas State University. I can't speak on the other one, but the university isn't giving away the email distribution list without permission. And I think what the senator just spoke about, there is ability to scrape emails out of our distribution database, basically public information, creating then fictitious solicitation. I think there's two separate pieces to this that are part of the dynamics here, but I understand that solicitation is continuous, right? I mean, we're getting hammered with maybe and maybe not valid reasons. So.
And I think OCM is especially interesting because I went back to check. I remember getting plenty of emails from them when I was a freshman. Turns out they kept sending me emails until the summer after my sophomore year. But they send emails under the OCM label, right? Which I don't see any problem with. If they're a company trying to advertise a service, it's great that part of that money kicks back to the Association of Residence Halls. But then they also send emails under, as though Kansas State University is sending out the email, or at least it's titled that way, right? You can tell that the image isn't right and the email isn't right. So I find that behavior bizarre, and I wish that it happened less.
Are there further questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, up next in introduction, we have Bill 232481, allocation of debt reduction and emergency allocation account funds for SGA compensation. Is there a motion to consider? Senator Strunk.
I move to consider Bill 232481.
Second. Objection.
Okay, it has been moved, seconded, and objected to consider the resolution. We will move into a I think it's just a hand vote on the consideration of a bill. Yeah, so raise your placard if you would like to consider the resolution, or Bill 81. Proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. Okay, that will stand approved. So, Chair Long, please come forward.
Bill 232481, allocation of debt reduction emergency allocation account funds for SGA compensation. Authors myself, sponsors, Student Service Committee, and members of OPS. I didn't realize. Thank you for that. Whereas Student Governing Association, SGA, is charged with the representation and faithful stewardship of Kansas State University KSU students and student monies. Whereas membership and retention in SGA, particularly in the legislative branch, has declined in recent years. Whereas several measures were taken to economize student senate meetings, such as the elimination of questions after debate and limits in length of first open period speeches. Whereas on December 8th, 2023, a survey was furnished to members of the Student Executive Committee seeking their opinion on various methods to increase membership and retention, including the implementation of dress code, reductions in branch sizes, and procurement of parking passes for members. Whereas the results of this survey indicate that financial compensation was believed to be the most effective method to improve recruitment and involvement. Whereas, on February 1st, 2024, a survey was provided to the members of SGA asking for their opinion on the most effective and impactful monetary compensation items, including athletics tickets, parking passes, and KSU Student Union gift cards. Whereas, the results of this survey show that garage parking passes, known as preferred stalls, were the most impactful direct monetary compensation item for the respondents. Whereas opportunities for members of the body to gather outside of required meetings is essential to foster relationships and camaraderie. Whereas Chapter 30, Section 300204 allows for the withdrawal of debt reduction and emergency allocation account funds for one-time budget enhancement allocations upon approval of the Student Services Fee Committee and Student Senate. Whereas the debt reduction and emergency allocation account currently has $932,000 available monies and projected to have $1.3893935 at the end of FY24. Whereas there are more funds available than necessary to retain the level needed for conceivable debt reduction. Whereas the Student Services Fee Committee chair was provided with a letter detailing the request of a one-time budget enhancement allocation detailed in Section 1 below, which was approved by the Senate Executive Committee on a vote of 7-1 to 0 on February 13th, 2024. Whereas the Senate Executive Committee believes that an allocation over 2 years will allow for an effective trial period of a compensation structure. Whereas the garage access parking passes item is intended to purchase preferred stall garage parking passes from KSU Parking Services for up to 60 student senators. Whereas KSU Parking Services has, pending approvals legislation, agreed to allow SGA to purchase these passes prior to their availability in the open market. Whereas the end of year banquet item is intended to enhance the pre-existing SGA banquet budget, which currently has a value of $1,800 per fiscal year. Whereas currently, members of SGA leadership attend a dinner with the university president and their cabinet at the beginning of the term to furnish connections and have conversations about goals for the coming year. Whereas this event is considered beneficial to its attendees and is invaluable in forming relationships with the university administration. Whereas the start of term cocktail party item is intended to be used for a networking and mingling event between all SGA membership and members of the university administration. Whereas the funds for additional member travel item is intended to allow for at least 2 additional members of the body to accompany members of SGA leadership to the yearly Big 12 on the Hill events in Washington, D.C. And whereas after receipt of the proposal, the Student Services Fee can be voted 5-4 to approve the following reallocation with debt reduction emergency allocation account one-time budget enhancement funds. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Government Association, KSUSJ, recommends and approves that $72,900 be allocated from debt reduction and emergency allocation account in the following fiscal years to the Student Government Association for use of the following compensation items. FY24, garage access parking passes, $32,400, recommended as such. End of year banquet, $1,050, recommended as such. Start of term cocktail hour, $1,000, recommended as such. Funds for additional travel requested at $2,000, recommended as such. Exact same thing for FY26, totaling $72,900. Section 2, allocated money shall be utilized in the projects listed above and shall not be utilized for other purposes. Section 3, if compensation items are procured for less than the budgeted amount, remaining monies may only be used to enhance the funds for additional member travel compensation item listed in this agreement. Section 4, prior to the end of FY25 and FY26, the Senate Operations Committee shall provide a report to the Student Services Fee Committee on SGA recruitment and retention trends. Section 5, the planning of the end-of-year banquet shall be the responsibility of 3 members of SGA elected by the Senate no later than the end of the fall semester of the term. They shall make reports of their progress and efforts to the body and to the Speaker pro tempore of the Student Senate. Section 6, the planning of the start of term cocktail hour shall be the responsibility of 3 members of SGA elected by the Senate no later than the 3rd Senate meeting of the term. They shall make reports on their progress and efforts to the body and to the student body president. Section 7, funds for additional member travel shall be utilized to bring individuals selected through an application process demonstrating relevant skills and experience. The content of this application and selection of members shall be at the discretion of the student body president, Speaker of the Student Senate, and Attorney General. Section 8, during the spring semesters of the 2024-2025 and 2025-2026 SGA terms, the Speaker pro tempore of the Student Senate shall create and administer a survey, which shall include, but is not limited to, questions on why members joined SGA and if compensation items included in this allocation influence their decisions. Section 9, upon expense of each item listed above, the Speaker pro tempore of the Student Senate shall submit itemized receipts to the Student Services Committee chair and shall include expenses in their annual report. Section 10, monies not utilized by the end of a specified fiscal year shall be transferred back to the debt reduction emergency allocation account. Section 11, responsibilities assigned and described in this allocation may be modified at the request of the Student Governing Association and with the permission of the Student Services Fee Committee. Section 12, if at any point the Student Services Fee Committee determines the Student Governing Association has improperly utilized their respective funds, a resolution may be passed by KSUSJ to terminate this agreement. Section 13, Bill 23-2481 becomes effective upon passage of the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President. Woof. All right. I will point out there's one incorrect thing in that I learned of today. The current amount in the debt reduction account is actually about $1.55 million, not $1.38 million. Please ask me lots of questions.
Senator Shirkey.
elaborate on the purposes of the second and third line items for each fiscal year, the banquet and cocktail hour, and why we should be allocating money from this debt reduction and emergency allocation fund to those purposes.
Sure. I'll start with the end of year banquet. We already have a budget for that. It's $1,800. At this point in time, it hasn't been raised for a very long time. I'm not sure when. I would bet somewhere before 2010 is when that budget became around like that. It is not enough money to host an effective end of year banquet as is envisioned by members of the committee or members of leadership. A lot of the suggestions on some of the retention issues is about culture. And the committee feels that that culture will be enhanced if there are more and larger opportunities to form camaraderie with other members of SGA outside of this chamber. This chamber is not a great place to form friendships and relationships due to the structure of how we are allowed to speak and talk and such. So more opportunities for that. Last year, the banquet was Chick-fil-A before Senate in the Union. And there's a desire to have a more formal sit-down awards and situation, more akin to something that engineering would throw the end of year, either for Steel Ring or Sigma Tau Pi, I forget their name is doing this year. As for the start of term cocktail hour, the president and the president's cabinet host a dinner with all the directors and I forget the vice presidents effectively and SGA leadership to talk about goals and plans for the upcoming year. And that gives the opportunity for members of SGA leadership to talk and mingle with the university administration. That's extremely beneficial. And it's very important for feeling like the job you have is well thought of and important as well. Being able to talk with the large and impressive Derek Jackson is a benefit to saying your job is important. And that's the idea for the Start Turn Cocktail Hour is to expand that option to all members of the body as well.
Follow-up.
I'm not going to grant follow-ups while we have a bunch of questions. Senator Griffith.
On line 55, it says that preferred stall garage parking passes up to 60 senators. What is, in your mind, the correct idea for if a senator is elected to the speaker, so they're no longer senator, or joins the cabinet, or otherwise resigns?
Perfect. Myself and a couple other members of the body sat down with Jeff Barnes, Parking Services. The way this is going to work is we will purchase and procure these passes around late April, early May. So past the point where we know who's elected, who's going to be in Senate, anything past that. So we will not be buying parking passes for members that do not exist.
Senator Lee.
I just had a question on section 4, I think line 131, or 132, whatever. Whenever you talk about the recruitment retention trends, how does that look like? Is it like an onboarding survey? Is it an exit survey for members? How are you going to track this, to track the retention recruitment trends without trying to see the data as if it's all correlated? Like, I'm trying to explain, like, you can look at the numbers of this how many centers we had then, this how many centers we have now, but that could be as a result of different things that isn't related to the incentives themselves. So is there going to be specific surveys dedicated to this?
Multiple parts of that. So specific surveys dedicated to this will be later on talking about the pro tem survey they're going to administer. That is specifically the committee was, to be comfortable, this committee wanted to have data on, did these incentives actually influence your decision to be in the body? That's that pro tem survey. When it comes to the report on retention trends, really the data there is from the ops chair already keeps numbers on how many people are in, how many people have resigned in that situation. So that is the raw data on the membership of SGA and the Senate in particular. The pro tem survey is designed to be, are these things actually what's causing people to join or leave SGA? So two separate items there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Vice President-elect O'Malley.
Sorry, I may have just missed it, but so if someone just became a senator and in October decides to resign their seat, do they keep the pass? Do we take the pass away?
Absolutely not. The way we have this set up is we have access to say what license plate numbers are recipients of this pass effectively. If you in October choose to resign your Senate seat, the next day you lose your parking pass.
Senator Koch.
What other avenues have been done in the past to help with recruitment and retention rates?
So many things. More recently is I'll use Nick Si's term, or a member of the body's term, economizing student senate. Why do people not want to be in this room sometimes? It's because it's not worth their time, is what we know from exit surveys is what the reason is. People don't think it's worth their time. So we've tried to make Senate shorter, more efficient, and have more active things in it. We've gotten there. It hasn't had a dramatic impact. There's business this body has to do that we cannot make shorter. We have to approve allocations, hear contracts, debate on legislation. Even if Chair Sushanik doesn't care about allocations, she has to debate and hear them. We can't make this meeting that much shorter. We've also tried such items as having more outside involvement, participating in homecoming, having more items for the body to participate with each other, and those have not been successful so far. Those are going to be great second-term measures. Once people are already here and staying here, they're going to form relationships. It's this getting people here, making them stay, that this is really focused on. We haven't been able to find an item to do that, and when we talked to the body and to Senate Exec in particular, monetary incentives was the way that was believed to happen.
Time for questions has expired.
Senator Griffith.
I move to extend speaker's time by 5 minutes.
Second. Move to extend questioning.
Questioning, yes.
Okay. It has been extended. Senator Mason.
It might have been answered in like a previous session of Senate, but I was just wondering about like the process that took you to compensating senators with parking passes, because I know a lot of the data that you collected involves senators being compensated on an hourly rate or with a stipend. So why parking passes and why not like stipends or hourly rates?
Truthfully, because I and the committee are not certain that this is going to be the end-all best process in structure, for compensating people. But paying people hourly is a way greater leap and a far more of a dedication of our funds than this process is. When we asked people, we did ask people if they'd like to be paid hourly. I think the answer, if we asked all of you, would you like to be paid hourly, I'm sure the answer would be a resounding yes. When we went through the process of survey collection and data, parking passes was the predominant winner there. Student Executive Committee, Senate Executive Committee, Student Senate, other members of the body, and Senator Heseltine also did some data collection on that one as well. Particularly, we wanted to know if it was money in meal vouchers and gift cards for the union or parking passes were more valuable, and parking passes won out in all regards.
Senator Shirkey.
So fundamentally, I would assume the entire objective of financial compensation for recruitment purposes is to turn people who are not senators into people who are senators. To that end, have you collected any information from people who are not senators, the student body at large, as to the data that, as to if they would join the Senate given financial compensation, or when it says surveys of members of SGA, does it mean like only senators?
Not entirely, no. We have collected outside data, not as much as in SGA, but some members, mostly anecdotally, on what they would feel about.
Can I add a point of clarification?
Sure.
All of Alexa's research is on people that are not in SGA and what things would draw them to join SGA. That is Alexa's entire Senator Heseltine's entire survey.
Right. Other items in that as well. The general argument and opinion is people want to know why SGA should be compensated, but once it's explained, the amount of time they dedicate for what they gain, what they do, it is overwhelmingly positive. I will also say the point of this compensation is not just to get people that are not senators to be in Senate. It's also to make people that are here right now and thinking, can I continue to justify my time here when I could be working a job, paying for my college tuition, to make sure they stay here and are able, on an opportunity basis, to be in Senate. There's a real chance that somebody says, I cannot dedicate my time to SGA because that 5 hours a week could go towards working a job. That is a real thing that people have to face. And we will make sure there's not a barrier to being in SGA because you aren't able to pay for it.
Senator Griffith.
On the Senate Executive Committee vote to decide what to do, who was the lone vote and why did they vote against it?
I think they would be fine with saying who it was. That's a public vote. Mr. Hoffman was, Emerging Leaders Coordinator Hoffman was the vote against it. I will not explain his debate in full against it. He is of the opinion that these measures will not adequately increase retention, and it is not the fiscally responsible thing to do for the student services fee.
Senator Fogel.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that a lot of people don't really know what we do here. That's part of the problem. How are we going to advertise that we are not compensating our members without coming across as, without having poor perceptions of that?
Right, that's a really interesting. Would someone mind extending time for questions here in a couple minutes, by the way, because we're definitely going to have that problem. That's an interesting line to toe, right? Because we don't want to just dangle a carrot and say, hey, we're going to pay you to come here now, because we don't. That's not what we want to be about. We also want to say we're willing to offer you incentives. I would really like to see what a new comms agency or the current communication director does with that. The basic idea is how we do SGA compensation now. We don't say, hey, run for speaker, you're going to get 80% of your tuition paid for. It's known if you're around it. Really, we don't want to go advertising this out to everybody so the people at large are coming to SGA because of this. We want this to be something that people who are interested in already can see as well and brings them over the fence or keeps them here once they're already in the body.
Senator Griffith.
On line 124 and 125, when it says allocated money shall be utilized on the project listed above and shall be utilized on other purposes, that does in fact mean that it's only the stuff on the end of year banquet line item can be used only on the end of year banquet line item and for the other ones.
In the exception of if there's, well, no. The main purpose of that line is SGA has mini budget line items. We don't want SGA, no offense, current SGA leadership, to see, aha, we now have $32,450 in a year, $36,450. Let's use it for something else. Mr. Phillips, who's still watching, will buy new computers. The purpose there is that they have to use it for these items. That's section, I forget which one it is, section 3, sorry. If there's money left over in the garage access parking passes or the Star Turn cocktail hour, that can be used for the member travel. So it can enhance that. That's the purpose. If it doesn't get used for that, it goes back into reserves. So if money doesn't get used for this, it goes back into our reserves the same as it is right now.
Time for questions has expired again.
Senator Zacko.
I move to extend the time for questions by 5 minutes.
The time will be extended. Senator Shirkey.
I have a question and then a follow-up. So when you were earlier in this, I think it was you, earlier in the legislative session, you mentioned or someone else mentioned, you talked about an organization known as JCOC. And it was said that this organization, which is responsible for a type of financial compensation, is held by members that are not seeking officer positions in relevant areas that are going to increase their compensation. Is that correct?
Semi. JCOC is, every 3 years, this body elects JCOC. Oh, who was on JCOC last time? Drew? Or, sorry, Senator Bellamy. Senator Caucus Leader Bellamy? Senator Bellamy. Senator Bellamy was on it. We elect these individuals to then decide for the leadership members what that should be. The main reason that is then an independent group is because they then reach out to the last several, as far back as they can find, years of officers to see if the compensation they received they felt was justified or should be increased or decreased. That body, it specifies, is for certain officer positions, not for general measures.
All right, so the follow-up is, we have...
Granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we have a precedent set where officers where personnel that are seeking compensation are going to have that compensation reviewed by members outside of that area so that there will be no conflict of interest. This bill, on the other hand, has the Senate considering raises for the Senate. Do you see any issues regarding conflict of interest with this legislation?
Absolutely not. I trust everyone in this room to not have that conflict of interest. Additionally, we are deciding what's going to be compensated for the next Senate. We're not making mid-year changes to this as well. And this process has gone through so many different bodies, including people not in the Senate, being at-large members on the committee, that no, I do not see a conflict of interest.
President Cartan.
So I am speaking on behalf of the library's ambassadors, first off. Everything else I like, so congratulations with that. Other question that can start coming up is allowing senators to have the parking passes. Could there be a loophole to allow student workers on campus to also start getting allowed to get that as well, since they help support the university and its natural function as such as SGA senators do as well?
What do you mean by loophole? I apologize.
Passing this, then presidents of organizations on campus could start questioning, going, if SGA can do it, and we are potentially doing just as much, could we get the allocations to get those parking passes as well?
Allocations, no. I won't speak for Jeff Barnes and what he is willing or able to do, but it is not against any rules or statutes for organizations on campus to request to pay for parking passes for their membership. It's not currently widely done. I don't believe it would be a situation of paid for. We're paying this out of our funds effectively.
Senator Bellamy.
Okay, weird question. If we start paying parking services, will they get wise about the officer parking passes that they provide us so graciously?
Parking Services does not provide the K passes. That's the Vice President of Administration and Finance's office, and there's no. They're fully aware. There's no visiting to be gained.
Cool.
Senator Griffith.
So you said earlier that their purchase in bulk around April and May. What if during then in the fall semester or the start of the next spring semester, interim appointments are made? Like, for example, the College of Health and Human Sciences next term will have one senator representing a total of 9 seats. What if is there a process to allow those other interim appointments to receive parking passes similarly, or not at this time?
Dependent entirely on when they are appointed. Most likely not, because within days of Parking Services opening those parking passes to the open market, they'll be gone. If it happens before then, certainly. Part of this is incentive to join SGA because you would like to during and run for election of contentious elections as well. If they are appointed during October or such, is unlikely they'll be getting this parking pass.
Are there further questions or corrections for the author? Senator West.
Is there just any way that you can ensure that allocating these funds for this won't hurt us in the future if we need to dip into the reserves? Like, is there a way that we can know for sure that we won't need to do that?
Sure. This allocation lasts 2 years only. We're allocating this money over the next 2 fiscal years. After that, it's gone. There's no more money. At that point, that's when SGA will be reviewed by the Student Services Fee Committee, and it'll be the job of the sophomores-ish and freshmen in this room to prove to the Student Services Fee Committee that these measures actually had measurable impact on recruitment, attention, and positive culture. If that's not able to be proven to the committee, it's gone. It's done. There's only this amount of money in it. Additionally, with hurting our reserves, $72,000, we have that in our reserves, and we are building upon that continuously. Barring COVID V2, this will not hurt us in the future.
Time for questions has expired.
Okay, thank you. Now, we will move on to Bill 232482, amendments to the KSU SGA statutes regarding the travel funding limit. Is there a motion to consider? Chair Cuesta.
I move to consider Bill 82.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Will the author please come forward?
All right, guys. Bill 232482, amendments to the KSU SGA statutes regarding the travel funding limit. Authors Carson S. Cuesta and Gavin Strunk. Sponsors Student Allocations Committee. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU SGA, should continue to review and update its statutes. Whereas the current limit for travel funding is presently at $100 per person up to $1,000 and was set in 2004. Whereas inflation over the last 20 years has decreased the buying power of allocated funds from $100 in 2004 to $166.53 in 2024. Whereas the Student Allocations Committee recognizes that $100 per person up to $1,000 total no longer meets the needs that many groups express, and whereas the Student Allocations Committee wants to increase monetary support to student groups without overextending our resources, being enacted Section 1. So Section 210103, subsection A, paragraph E of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association, KSU SGA statutes be as amended. Travel. Travel shall be defined as a request for funds to pay expenses related to transportation, lodging, and subsistence for the Kansas State University students. Each campus-wide or college council organization may be allocated up to a total of $1,500 between their 2 travel projects per fiscal year. Each travel project allocation shall be limited to $150 per student traveling. Section 2. Section 21-0106, subsection A, paragraph 2 of the KSU SGA statutes be amended as follows. Funds requested must be divided into separate categories outlined below. Each category must have a detailed description of the items requested and an estimate of the cost of each item. Travel. Travel shall include all expenses related to traveling to compete in an academic competition. These expenses could include, but are not limited to, subsistence, registration, lodging, and transportation. Funds for travel can only be spent on current students or those students who are involved with the competition team prior to graduation that are within 6 months of their graduation date. Academic competition teams are not subject to the $1,500 limits set forth in Statute 21-0103. All right. Equipment. Equipment shall include those materials that are necessary for academic competition teams to participate in their competitions or tournaments. See Other. This category shall include any expenses for items that do not reasonably fit in the above categories, as determined necessary by the Student Allocation Standing Committee. However, this category shall be subject to the limitations on funding listed below. D. Annual requests must be completed and submitted to the Student Allocation Standing Committee in the Center for Student Involvement. Yeah, that's not right. No longer than the last Friday in February. Section 3. These changes will take effect upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president.
Are there questions or corrections for the author? Senator Griffith.
Lines 51 and 54, where it is C and D, there should be a line break before both of those.
Chair Cuesta.
In line 55 and 56, can we change the Center for Student Involvement to Student Programs Involvement?
Senator Griffith.
You have increased, in this, you would be increasing the total to $150 per student traveling up to a maximum of $1,500. And yet on line 15, you said that the value from the last time it was changed from 2004 to 2024 is increased to $266.53. How come you haven't updated it completely to fit the curve of inflation?
I show 166 and 53, but the reason why is purely mostly for accounting reasons and to make it a nice even number. We don't want to, it becomes more, costly to like make Amy have to do a lot more.
Senator Shirkey.
Why not 170?
As the committee just decided that 150 was the number to go for.
Senator Glasscock.
Would increasing the amount that you're giving to each organization reduce the number of organizations you can give money to?
I think that is a distinct possibility.
Follow-up?
Yeah. If that's the case, what would the committee be doing to better determine which organization should be getting that money if the assumption is that the number will be decreasing?
We already go through, I would say, a fairly structured process on like the things that we would want to fund as far as like travel. So most of the time, most of the organizations that come to us, their entire, like if they're flying somewhere like to like Georgia, on the East Coast, usually their entire like flight will, take up the $1,500, well, currently $1,000 would be $1,500. And honestly, I wouldn't say that there would be anything extra. I think we already do a fairly good job of figuring out which groups deserve funding.
Further questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, up next we have Bill 2324-83, disbursement of the reserve for contingencies balance. Is there a motion to consider? Chair Cuesta.
I move to consider Bill 83.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Will the author please come forward?
There we go. Bill 232483, disbursement of the reserve for contingencies balance, authors Carson S. Cuesta, and sponsors the Student Allocations Committee. Whereas the Student Allocations Committee utilizes the campus organization line item of the student activity fee, which is dispersed from the reserve contingencies account for its allocations. Whereas the budget for the Student Allocations Committee is $39,893. Whereas if all allocations currently recommended by the committee were passed by Student Senate, the committee would have a remaining balance of $2,698, whereas the Student Allocations Committee has 11 outstanding applications totaling $13,234.75 in requested funds, whereas Section 210103, subsection F, paragraph 7 of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association should say statute stipulates, at the discretion of the Student Allocation Standing Committee and with the approval from Student Senate, up to $10,000 in additional funds may be dispersed from the Reserves for Contingencies account, NISACON RSV, to campus-wide organizations each fiscal year. These additional funds shall not be limited by the above requirements and may be used for any organization's request for the current fiscal year. Whereas this disbursement will raise the total campus organization's balance to $49,893 with a usable budget of $12,698. And whereas the estimated balance of the reserve contingencies account is $215,700, be it enacted that Section 1, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, $10,000 be dispersed from NISACON RSV to the campus organization's line item.
Are there questions or corrections aside from line 20 adding statutes after association before stipulates? Senator Koch.
How often does the Student Allocations Committee take money out of the reserve contingencies account?
So that's an interesting question. The last cycle that the Student Services Fee Committee adjudicated money to this particular pot of fund, they decreased the amount of fund. And so the pulling of this money, I would say, is historically particularly rare, but in modern times a necessity because the pot of money that we have to allocate is so small.
Senator Griffith.
On line 17, it says that your total is that of remaining outstanding applications is $13,234.79, and yet with the $10,000 plus the amount that you would currently have remaining, you would have less than that amount. Are you fully prepared to inform at least that some of these organizations will not be able to get the full amount of funding?
Yes, and that is a conversation that, of course, the committee will have in the coming 2 weeks. And it's, of course, their prerogative which organizations those will be. But the reason for decision and the amount of funds that organizations will receive will be clearly communicated.
Senator Bellamy.
Yeah, I have some corrections. Can you scroll up, Ethan? So on line 9, activity is spelled wrong. Contingencies is spelled wrong. There's an I on the first E there. Then if you want to scroll down, on line 30, contingencies is also spelled wrong, but in a different way. That's all I had.
Much thanks.
Senator Glasscock.
How much money went into the reserve contingencies account from last year?
$10,000.
Senator Griffith.
It says that you can only do up to a maximum of $10,000. Do you believe that that is too little?
Yeah, I would say that's not pertinent to the conversation we're having on the bill, but I'd be interested in having that conversation later.
Okay, are there further questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, thank you. Chair Cuesta, you have a motion?
Thanks. I move to special order bill, whatever it is.
Second.
Bill
83?
Yeah.
Okay, so he has motioned to special order Bill 83. This is debatable, so you have first rights to debate.
So the reason that I'm specialing order this is pretty simple. because we only have a number of weeks left in the term, and it's imperative that the committee can operate with the full force of its potential budget. So if we wish to allocate further to organizations, we really have to have this money. So thank you.
Chair Long?
Question of privilege, why wasn't this introduced last week? The deadline is past in my meeting. We would have known about this last week. Why was it introduced last week?
Simply because the calculations on the remaining balance was done this week. So, yeah.
And I know they didn't have a meeting
That too.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Super Bowl.
Gotta love it.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative on the motion to special order? So there further debate in the positive on the motion to special order? Is there any further debate at all? Okay, so this is going to be a hand vote. Raise your placards now if you are in favor of special ordering Bill 83, proxies raised 2. All opposed, same sign. That will pass. Chair Questel, will you please come forward?
No thanks. I don't, yeah,
Are you deferring your first rights to debate?
I am.
I assume no corrections have been made.
No.
Seeing as that was debate in the positive, is there debate in the negative on the bill? So debate in the positive. And is there any further debate at all on Bill 83, now in final action? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote.
All right. Bellamy.
Yes.
Biggs.
Yes.
Blood. Broughton.
Yes, by proxy?
Bruckner.
Yes.
Koch.
Pass.
Compton.
Yes, by proxy.
Questa.
Yes.
Cup.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Drotz. Dunce.
Yes, by proxy.
Fogel.
Yes.
Glasscock.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Heatherman.
Yes.
Hesseltine.
Yes, by proxy.
Hoffmans. Hulse. Hunley. Jacobson.
Yes.
Kirchen.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes.
Kermer.
Yes.
Kinsey.
Yes, by proxy.
Lee.
Yes.
Lilly. Long.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Mason.
Yes.
Melcher. Moore.
Yes.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Lowry. Pelton.
Yes, by proxy?
Peterson.
Yes.
Rios.
Oh, yes, by proxy.
Rivard.
Abstain by proxy.
Rogers. Syatt Carney.
Yes.
Syatt Nick.
Yes.
Salmon. Shirky.
Yes.
Streetman.
Yes.
Strunk.
Yes.
Sushanik.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Winger. Wolf.
Yes.
Zacko.
Yes.
Going back to the pass. Koch.
No.
All right. Bill 232483 will pass on a vote of 39 to 1 to 1.
Okay, seeing as we have exhausted introduction, we will move into second open period. Are there any speakers for second open period? Senator Dennis.
Hi everyone, this is one of the last times I ever get to do this, so hello. I just wanted to invite you all. I am part of Ecumenical Campus Ministry, and every Friday from 11 to 12:30 they have a free vegan lunch at their ministry house at 904 Sunset Avenue. You do not have to worry about being like preached at or proselytized to. That's not what they do, but it's really good, and it's something that we're trying to garner more interest in because everybody who used to do it graduated last year. So I would love to see you all. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you.
Thanks.
Are there further second open period speakers? Senator Griffith.
Tomorrow, Union Room 206, 7 to 10. It is the Board Game Club. Please come because we have just recently gotten a brand new game addition to our club collection. Now, has anyone here heard of Muffin Time? It's a game by Tom Ska, the creator of Astiv Movie. It's a card game where the goal is to get your hand up to 10 cards. It's a fun game, and I want as many people to be at this meeting to play it. So please, if you have free time, or even if you don't, cancel your plans and come.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Further second open period speakers, Chair Sushanik.
I just wanted to quickly share the good news since I advertised it all week and last week. For the first time in 15 years, K-State KD has won the Cookie Challenge and beat KU. The trophy is coming home.
Are there any questions? Was it the 4 boxes that I bought that put us over?
We were 200 over, and 2 years ago we lost by 5 boxes, and last year we were winning up until the last 5 minutes, where the chapter itself used their dues to buy the remaining amount to beat us.
Whoa!
Are there further questions? Senator Strunk.
Yeah, what kind of trophy are you guys getting?
I don't know. We haven't seen it in 15 years, but there's a physical trophy, and I'm very excited.
Senator Fogle.
Did you resort to using chapter funds to buy cookies?
No.
No, because they have ethics. They have morals and ethics. Senator Griffith.
Assuming your sorority allows you to, would you be willing to bring the trophy to show off next week for second open period, whenever it's available?
Whenever they bring it, I would be happy to bring it to Senate because I feel like this body has put forth a lot of work to bring this trophy back home.
You won't be here next week.
I won't be here next week.
Are there further questions for the speaker?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you. Are there further second open period speakers? Chair Long.
What? You'll see in a second. Sorry, my voice is hoarse because I've been talking so much. So obviously, excuse me. The compensation situation merits a lot of discussion because it is a very important piece of legislation. The committee will be discussing that at some point on Monday. So you'd like to have your thoughts heard for that, either come to that meeting and hear about Cats Covered, or email, text me, some such. This room right now is not conducive to having productive discussions on how we should do that structure, what it looks like. The committee has already approved that allocation. The discussion on Monday will be the best if the current legislation allocates that money in the best way with the right contractual stipulations. But if you have questions or concerns, please let me know sometime soon so we can talk about that as compared to this relationship on Thursday. Secondly, I have a public service announcement. Put that in presentation mode. What is that? Question for the crowd. It's a fan. What is the purpose of a fan, Chair Cuesta?
To blow air. To move air.
Senator Zacco, would you agree on Chair Cuesta's interpretation of the purpose of a fan? I will take your silence as a yes. Excellent.
Where are you going with this?
Next slide. What is that?
Windmill.
What does a windmill do?
Grind grain.
Excellent. It transforms wind into mechanical energy to grind grain, typically in the purpose of making bread, some would say. Next slide. What is that? That is a wind turbine alongside some beautiful Kansas cattle. A wind turbine is very, very different from a windmill. That is not a windmill. That converts wind into electricity and powers Kansas. How much electricity On the best day, do we think the University of Kansas State, I can't talk anymore, K-State receives a bunch of its energy from wind turbines. How much on the best day do you think that is? Chair Lynn,
Stop asking me questions.
I told you before.
I'm the one who calls on people for questions here. Chair Lynn's hand is not raised.
Darn, good point. K-State,
Senator Griffith?
It is somewhere around 5 teravolts.
my goodness, no. That would fry this whole place. K-State entered into agreement with local wind farms, not recently, a couple years ago, to receive up to 50% of the electricity from these wind farms, the Soldier Creek wind farm in particular. K-State and Kansas in general gets a large portion, the majority some days, from wind turbines. Kansas is a renewable energy state based on the place that it is, and that is a wind turbine. So, for the love of all that is good and holy, please do not call that a windmill, and that'll be my lasting impact here.
Senator Fogel.
Sorry, what's a teravolt?
A lot of power.
How many volts? How many?
Many.
Terrible. 1, 2, in the millions.
Technically, only senators can speak during second open period. Okay, you're done.
Oh.
There are no further questions. There are no further questions. Senator Shirkey.
I don't think I can technically be recognized. I was going to raise for the second open period.
Yeah, you can. Any senator can speak during second open period.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Hello, everyone. So unfortunately, I have to be a buzzkill and bring the Senate back to the regularly attended business instead of the wonderful things that the previous speakers have talked about and the awesome events you should attend. So, Bill 232481, the compensation bill. There are some very legitimate reasons why this bill was proposed. There are very legitimate changes that can be made to this bill, and parts of it that definitely will achieve an objective. And the point, the best place to modify that bill will be in the SSF committee on Monday, like the previous speaker said. However, the fact of the matter is that any cosmetic changes we can make to this bill, even any substantive actions like changing the type of incentive, changing who's regulating the incentive, does not cut to the primary issue here. The primary issue is that this is an experimentation with existing funds that is not warranted by the evidence, and that is not an effective allocation of our resources. You're going to have at least a week, I guess, until final action to consider this bill. I urge you all to do so very carefully. Bear in mind that the surveys that have been done in support of this bill haven't really asked the real questions. Does the student body at large believe this is a good use of their resources? Have the universities that have answered this bill, did it really help their retention? With these questions unanswered, the bill cannot go forward in its current form. That's all.
Do you stand for questions?
I guess I will, because I see 2 placards raised.
Senator Koch.
Go ahead and go to Zach first.
Senator Zach, go.
Do you think that this would be more appropriate to bring up at the committee meeting rather than second open period?
I did attend the last committee meeting. I'm probably, if I have the time, going to attend the other committee meeting. But open period is not the time for substantive debate. I think it's the time to just bring to your attention, hey, this is probably one of the bills you should be focusing on, thinking hard about before the next thing.
Senator Koch.
I'm not gonna say that this feels like a debate or not, but my question is, why are you bringing this up now instead of waiting next week, or why didn't you bring this up earlier when we were talking about this bill?
I will be making more substantive arguments against it during the actual, scheduled debating process. So this is not, I recognize this is not the time for a substantive debate, so I'm not going to spend 10 minutes here talking about technical reasons why I oppose the bill.
Further questions for the speaker? Chair Suchanek?
what will you be doing as an independent person to educate yourself more on this over the next week besides just going to the committee meeting, and maybe the rest of the room can follow that example?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's actually what I've been doing since last Monday. Been going out to the voters. I encourage you all to do the same. You might like it. I've been going around to whether it is colleagues of mine that are on student design teams, whether that is groups of students in the dining areas. I'm a residence hall student, so I find that's a very good way to engage with the voters. I think that especially considering, we just had an election and this, like, the whole SGA having to make important decisions is still fresh in the voters' minds. I do encourage every senator to start asking their friends who aren't in the Senate what they think of this legislation and let that inform their decision. Rest assured, I will be doing the same.
Senator Strunk.
So you mentioned how other data, like, surveys have not asked the real question. So are you going to conduct a survey that asks the real questions?
I am not. I'm not the author of this legislation. I see the problem, and I, frankly, since I'm a new senator, I don't think that I have the ability to write a substantive legislation to address the issue of student SGA retention and involvement. I would love to address that once I, know a little bit more about the process and the rules of the Senate, and I can put a, meaningful, well-crafted bill on the floor. Until then, I have to simply stand on principle and oppose allocations that I believe are not warranted by the circumstances.
Further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Oh, Chair Sushanik, did you have a question? No. Okay, thank you. Are there further second open period speakers tonight? Seeing none, we will move on to Senate shoutouts.
All right. I'd just like to say that you guys have beat the record by 1 since last week.
There's 63.
There's 63.
Not
all right.
that necessarily all of them will get read.
Also valid. All right, here you go. All right, shout out to fanpresentation.pptx. Judicial movie night turning into Senate watch party. Shout out to money, it makes the world go round. Shout out to most of the room being in agreement with debate tonight. I love it, saves time too. Shout out to the proxies for accidentally missing some votes. That's our bad. Shout out to amendments being weird. Shout out to Anna's I'm good in the back. Shout out to I yield. Shout out to Anna setting a precedent tonight. Shout out to Anna and Jacob for debating on their amendments too early and then not going up when it's time to debate. Hashtag slay king and queen. Shout out to all the senator-elects who came to the meeting tonight. Shout out to Nick for being the slowest page flipper of all time. Shout out to Nick for the commitment. Madam Speaker. Shout out to Diet Jaycock. Shout out to Katie for making her first motion. I'm so proud of you. Shout out to Carson S. Cuesta for adding the S to be fancy. Shout out to Jack Jennings. He's the GOAT, and he got sock drip for real. Shout out to Conflicts of Interest. Hello, my name is Brady. Shout out to Amy. You have our hearts. Andrew, if you can hear me, please wake up. You've been in a coma for a year. Please wake up. Hello, my name is Brady, and I'm a Pookie Bear. Tribunal, shout out to Tribunal Rules. Shout out to Tribunal, which is better than Student Review Board. Shout out to Parking Services Guy. Sorry for questioning you for 45 minutes that one time. Good work. The Wildcat from good old LK. That's liberal, by the way. Shout out to Tori for slaying. Shout out to Chancellor Compensation. Shout out, or have a good night and get home safely. Hashtag judicial rules. Shout out to today's Wordle is heavy. Guys, it's 9:25. You should have done it. Someone put like the emoji with the cowboy hat so you can visualize that. Shout out to DAG Chapman, prepping her State of the Judicial report weeks in advance. Shout out to Hattie not being mentioned for JCOC leadership. Judicial approves of Madam Speaker's outfit. Shout out to I Don't Like Your Little Games. And somebody did a song. I'm not doing that again. Shout out to Elizabeth getting into law school.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brady Kaplan for saying everyone's name, I guess. Shout out to cows. Shout out to Vivian's outfit slaying. Shout out to beating KU, EMA. Thank you, Brady, for reading all these. My voice is hoarse because I've been talking so much. Shout out to beating KU for the first time in 15 years. In all caps, Sam, talk yo S-word, standing on business. Jacob hating on Senate to make decisions. I don't know. Shout out to Senator Vice President-elect in the room tonight. Shout out to Barbie chairing the meeting. Shout out to I call for the questions here. Shout out to Blowing Air. Shout out to Construction Boy being Wind Boy tonight. Shout out to You're Done. Shout out to fans, which are not to be confused with windmills nor wind turbines. Shout out to our constituents, and shout out to our voters.
Okay, now we have reference of legislation. Resolution 67 will go to SOC, Bill 81 will go to SSF, and Bill 82 will go to SAC. We will go on to, Jilong?
Bill 83. Oh, we passed it, don't
We passed it. We'll now move on to second roll call.
Bellamy.
Here.
Biggs.
Here.
Bruckner.
Here.
Koch.
Here.
Compton. Cuesta.
Here.
Cup.
Here.
Dennis.
Here.
Drotz. Fogel.
Still here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Haynes.
Here.
Heatherman.
Here.
Hoffmans. Hundley.
Here.
Jacobson.
Here.
Kirchen.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
Kermer. Lee.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Lynn.
Here.
Mason.
Here.
Moore. Here. O'Malley.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Rogers. Syed Carly.
Here.
Syed Nick.
Here.
Salman. Shirky.
Here.
Streetman.
Here.
Strunk.
Here.
Sushanik.
Here.
West.
Here.
Winger. Wolf. And Zacco.
Here.
Thanks.
Okay, do we have a motion? Senator Dennis.
I motion to adjourn this meeting until next Thursday, same time, same place.
Is moved and seconded.
That one was you.
Okay, we stand adjourned.
I know. I felt so bad. I have internship at that time.
Yeah, because I voted on.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going.